I'm going to give you a quick little tip on how to repair a broken serving when you're in an emergency situation. So this isn't something necessarily that's going to be like, okay, this is a permanent fix. This is something where if a serving breaks from either a burr on a cam or if you've noticed just a wear area, like for example, this is a bow that I'm actually in the process of doing a full string and cable change. This is a very wearable area for most bows wherever the cables are fastly feeding through your roller slide or your cable slide. So in this case right here, this has actually kind of worn this serving. And this is a 2-year-old string, but where this serving is worn is a perfect example of needing to do a quick repair in the field. So for this situation right here, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to loosen this other cable, and I'm actually going to just put it in a press so I can get this behind there, and I'm actually going to put this string back there too. This is going to help me in regards to just being able to work right here and do what I'm showing you. So try to get everything out of the way of those areas. Now, if by chance this happens to be an area that's like down here on the cam or something, you might have to press the bow, take the string off, and either somehow get that string to be under tension, whether you do it on like a string server or like an old Yellowstone. I've honestly, I had to do this for Rogan, where he had a cut serving on a hunting trip from the back of a vehicle that had something slice it. So I actually had to press the bow, take the string off, and I put a screwdriver through it, and I had Joe just holding that string as tight as he possibly could while I was able to do what I'm going to show you right here. So first off, for now, let's see the best way to do this. I'm just going to go through this hole in the riser right here. And this is a piece of D-loop material. Figure out a way to tie these other things out of my way. So right now, I'm just tying a simple square knot right there, just keeping this other stuff out of my way, just so I have this right here in a place where I'm able to work on it. Now this could be the same thing that happens here. Like I said, it could happen here. I've had to do it here, but here's the basis of it. We have a serving that's cut, and we want to make sure it's only the serving that's cut and not the string. And this is what I call filling a gap. Now, filling a gap is something that I used a lot of times on my older bows that had a lot of wear down here on the cable spot. So a lot of my old single cam bows that I had, they were notorious for causing a separation where the serving would stretch out and it would be tight here and tight here, but it would just be one single strand there in the middle. And so what I would do is I would actually, once that separation had happened, I would fill that gap, and then I would never have a problem again. So that's kind of what I'm going to do here. So the first thing that I'm doing is I'm going to look at where this strand was cut. And all you want to do is you're going to unravel this. So you can see here I'm unraveling it back, and this is a pretty big piece. But if this was on a hunt, and you can see right here, it did appear that I might have had a cut strand. It's borderline cut strand, so I'll be able to salvage this for this reason alone, but that'll be it. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna back serve it until I'm kind of clear of the trouble area. But I also want to have about a foot of workable serving right here. And you want to make sure it's not serving that's nicked and cut. So I'm going to back serve. This is called back serving. Honestly, it's just unraveling, okay? Now, I'm going to do this side first, and before I unravel that, I'm going to maintain the tension of this one I've started on. Now, what's important about this is if I let go of this, it's going to slowly unspool and everything else is going to get loose. So try to maintain tension on that as much as possible. Now from there, here's how a back serve works. So you can see when I take this serving off, I'm doing this counterclockwise on this particular one. So as you're unraveling it, you can see that for this one, the string is on the bottom of this, the serving is on the bottom. And you can see as I'm doing this, this piece is kind of laying on the top, the opposite. So you're going to use that, and if your serving is on the bottom of the string, you're now going to make a small loop just like this, about 2 inches, 2 to 3 inches. You're going to make a small loop, and you're going to lay the serving down on the opposite side of the string. So right now I'm on the bottom, I'm going to lay this on the top. If it was the other way, if I was on the top here, I would have to lay it on the bottom there. But I'm going to go opposite. So we're on the bottom, I'm going to take a 2-inch loop, I'm going to lay it on the top. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually keep wrapping this tail. I'm going to keep wrapping it on the inside. And I'm going to wrap that. Honestly, if you can do it about 10 times, that would be the best. So I'm going to wrap it on the inside just like this. Okay? And if you go too much, you're going to have a problem pulling this through. So I've got about 10. Now what I'm going to do, I'll get this piece out of the way. Now I'm going to take this tail and I'm going to lay it right on top of that serving that we were originally undoing that's on the bottom. I'm going to lay it right in there like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this piece tightly around in the same order that it was clockwise. I'm going to wrap it around this tail that we've pulled through. So I'm going to go around just like this, and I'm going to keep these going on top of each other. Okay? So as I'm wrapping here, I'm unwrapping what I just wrapped towards the center. And you're going to want to make sure you have good tension here. Okay, and so right there we broke. Okay, so since that broke, that's showing that serving had some wear, which is fine. It's good to know. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some 3D serving, or on a fly, you could use dental floss if you have to, but dental floss is not going to let you pull very tight, but it can get you out of a bind. So I'm going to get about 2.5 feet of this. Okay, I'm going to burn it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this in half, just like this, and have myself a loop. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure the serving's tight, and look what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay this loop right on there like that. And it's kind of a pain to get it started, but once you get it started, you'll be home free. So I'm going to wrap it around just like that. There's my loop. Make sure your loop is straight. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to maintain pressure on this serving, and I'm going to wrap it in the same direction that it's wrapped down here, which in this case is clockwise. So I'm going to wrap this around about 2 times. I'm going to pull it a little bit snug, but not too snug. Okay, so that's right there that's now about 7 wraps, and I'm going to go 3 more. 1, 2, 3. So that's 10 right there. That's 10 wraps. Now this isn't ideal for longevity, but again, this is a repair situation. So now that I've wrapped, I'll take this back out. Now that I've wrapped that around that 10 times, make sure that your loop is not twisted around like this. Make sure your loop is free of and clear of everything, just like this. And you're going to pull your serving tab through your loop, just like that. Now grab your 2 tail ends of your loop and slowly pull. And as this catches right there, you're going to kind of slowly wiggle this back and forth. And right there, we're able to pull that serving through. Now what you can do is, if you have an Allen wrench, take this, wrap an Allen wrench around it, and pull that snug, just like that. So you can see now we've actually successfully back served that serving that had been cut. And so now you want to carefully burn this little tab. It's not going to take much, just like that. Now if you cut that, then that could pull back out. So by burning that, it kind of prevents that from happening. But as soon as you burn it, push it and get it as smooth as possible. Okay, so now we're over to this side right here. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to back serve this as much as we can in order to essentially do that same exact thing. So I'm going to take this, lay this right there. So here's my loop. There's my loop. I'm wrapping this around. You can see I'm wrapping it perfectly on top of itself. Just building rows as I'm going. But this should not be too tight. Just make it symmetrical and make it clean, but not too tight. Right there's about 10. So now what I'm going to do is put this tail through the loop, just like that. And I'm going to pull that through, just like that. Pulling that tight. So now you can see I have successfully removed all the bad serving. And I've got it finished there, and I've got it finished there. So now we have a 1-inch piece right here that we now have to fill. So for that, about a 1-inch piece, you're kind of taking your best guess at how much of this to use. Honestly, you don't want to wrap it all and be short. So I'm going to take a piece about 3 feet long, and what we're going to do is we're going to try to fill this gap between the serving and the serving. So for that, what we're going to do is we're going to take a tail. I always work from right to left, and I'm going clockwise. So I'm going to take that tail right there. I'm going to pinch it, and I'm going to wrap this around that tail and get it started a few times. And for this, I am pulling it tight. As tight as I can as I'm going. Now, one of the things to keep in mind here is this 3D is going to be thicker than what was used right there. If you're in a bind, you can use dental floss on a hunt if you need to, and I have. But it's not going to give you a lot of wear. This will definitely give you more, but it's a little bit thicker and you might feel a little bit of a bump. But again, this is an in-the-field repair. Okay, so one thing that's important to talk to you about with this is you can see where that stops. You kind of want to start about one row back so that you can hopefully get that to like bite in there and not keep sliding towards the center. This is something that you'll get better at once you've had to do this a few times. And one of the things that will really help you is if you have an old bow, that's got like loose or broken servings and you're not going to use it for anything, or if you've got an old one in the closet, doing these little hand drills of doing little repairs or tying knocks or doing D-loops on those is just such a good training tool. It's an exercise. And even for me, this is like a diminishing skill that you really have to put some extra time in. So right here, I'm starting this wrap. And I've got about 6 good wraps there. Pulling it tight. And once I've got this tight, I'm going to pull this a little bit, pull this one a little bit, snug it in place. And now I'm going to keep wrapping. Once you've made about 7 or 8 wraps for this situation, you can actually take that tail and get it out of your way and just keep wrapping without the tail underneath. And that's going to help this be a little bit smaller in diameter too. Now remember, this is something that to get a serving tool in there is going to be hard. And this is something that for right now for us on camera, we're able to show you in this open place a little bit cleaner than if we were having to work down here by one of the cams. But this same repair, this is kind of a splice in. This same thing can be used really anywhere on the bow as long as you can access it. Try to pull as tight as you can always. Okay, now here's where you want to get about a 1/4 inch away. And if you're a 1/4 inch away with this material, that's going to be about 8 or 9 wraps. Okay, so here's how we back serve once again. As we're serving clockwise in this situation, the string is under, or the serving is under the string. So now what we have to do to properly back serve is take this long tail and put it on top of the string and wrap it towards the inside. And this you can do lightly. You don't have to do this stiff. This is just back serving. So we're going to go about 8 to 10 times here. And you can kind of judge how much you have left there versus this here. So now I'm going to lay the tail in towards the center. And I am going to now wrap this very tightly around that tail, pulling super tight. And as I wrap here, I'm unwrapping here. Wrapping here will unwrap there because of how we did it. It's because we went to the opposite side of the string with the serving when we served towards the center. So you can see here I've got a super small gap, 2/1000. Now it's closed. I'm going to pull even tighter, and I'm going to put that last one right in between. So look at that. We're right in between. Now I'm going to grab this tail, and I'm going to pull, and I'm going to feed that last loop right in between. I'm going to pull it really tight. So boom. Now you can see what we just did. Okay, now I've pulled that tight. I'm going to take a little Allen wrench once again. I'm going to now pull this one a little tighter. And see, boom, now it just snugged right in. Okay. Be careful with this burn. Flames go up. Flames go up. So don't put it here. It has to be here, and you need to rotate your string so that you can do that. All right, so just like that, we've taken a cut serving, we've back served, we've filled the gap, and now we're able to have this thing function properly. Now, in this situation, because it's feeding through that cable slide, it might feel a little bit bumpier when you draw, but it's going to get you through, and it's really not going to change much other than feel. But at that point, you can wait till you get back from a hunt and do it. Now, if you do have the exact size serving, for example, a lot of times down here on the end servings, they do use that 3D for end serving, some companies. So in that case, if you did this properly, you would still have the same diameter even on your cams, and it would work out awesome. So this is a technique I call filling the gap, and it is an awesome way to get out of an emergency situation or be able to just let you continue on a long weekend at a shoot or a long hunt in the backcountry. Good luck.